Welcome to Diary of an Unemployed Actor, with me, Milo Dennison, where I speak with up-and-coming actors and filmmakers about the entertainment industry. We discuss success, failure, and share a few tips to inspire those of you who have a passion for the creative arts. Today I'm speaking with Corinna Issuree. Her and I worked together on a couple no-budget films, most recently one called The Witch's Trick, in which she directed and I acted in. And so I thought it would be an interesting conversation to sit down and basically just say, hey, walk me through the experience of making this film. This was her first time directing something, and so there are those lessons learned that you learn by doing something for the first time. We also made this over 2020 to 2021 because, of course, that's when the coronavirus outbreak was going on. So there were a lot of those interruptions due to stuff like that happening, which we discuss as well. But there's some key aspects here that we get into around filmmaking and the perseverance that is needed in order to make sure a no-budget production gets completed. So hope you find this useful and interesting. And here we go. For this one, what I'm thinking we can do is talk about the film and kind of go through that whole process of the pre-production and how long it took to get to the actual filming, and then the filming aspect, and then the post-production. Because I think the podcast is all about new filmmakers and people learning. My goal is for people that want to get into it and learn kind of at the starting level. Not everybody has a chance to get a New York Film University degree or to live in Hollywood and get a PA job and learn the thing that way. So a lot of people all over are trying to make films and learn about it. So I think yours is a good experience because it's your first directing experience, and it was during COVID, and it was just a really long, drawn out process. And the thing about it is if it weren't for you, that film wouldn't have been made. There's no doubt about it at all. So I think we should kind of just go into all of that. I think would be interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
First, I guess let's talk about how did this project come about in the first place? The whole London Film Jam thing.
Okay, so, oh my God, you know the answer to this as well.
I do, but the audience does not know the answer to this.
Okay, so London Film Jam is a meetup group. And I think because of COVID, Lucian, the organizer, he asked people to do something to do with a theme. Sorry, I'm not the most articulate person.
It was a theme, I think. Oh, because it was before Halloween, wasn't it? And so I think it was supposed to be a horror theme or something like that.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember the other themes. I'm not even sure if any of the other films got completed.
I don't think they did get completed. I think yours is the only one that got completed.
Charles, a guy from Spain, he submitted a script idea. What do you call it? Some sort of prognosis.
An outline, or there's a word for it actually. It's called oh crap, I know, we're like filmmakers, we should know what this is actually called. There is a word for it and I can't think of what it is, but basically it's an outliner, it's a brief, it's a summary, it's a whatever the word is that we're looking for. So basically a description of the film, more or less, is what he submitted.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that sounds really interesting. So we created a WhatsApp group, got together people that are interested in filming or the production side, some of the actors, and then, I went from there.
So what made you want to direct this? Because you volunteered to direct it.
I think initially there was someone else who volunteered to direct.
Yeah, there was some girl that volunteered to do it, and she just kind of dropped out, I think, at some point.
Yeah, and then I think no one else was really that interested, so I thought, okay, well, I guess I can do it.
Great motivation. Be like, well, nobody else wants to do it, so I guess I could do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you step up, take over the directing role, and the script was initially written as kind of a period piece called The Witch's Trick. And it was a period piece that follows the main character is kind of a drunken mayor of a little town who had a tragedy that happened in his life with his wife and child at the hand of a witch, as you would say. He encounters a writer in a pub, and the two of them go out to kind of have a little discussion. I don't know, summarize the film. You're the director, summarize the film.
Yeah, so oh God. Yeah, it was quite some time ago now, but the mayor made a deal with the witch the mayor's wife made a deal with the witch.
The wife made the deal with the witch, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that she could have a child. And then there was some sort of, what deals with witches end up like. There's always some cost.
Yeah.
And so the mayor ended up losing his wife, and it was all quite a grim story, but interesting all the same.
Yep. So this is the story. And at this point, he's remote. He's in Spain. We've got most of our crew, a couple actors. I'm one of the actors. I play the writer. And we have the actor who's playing the waitress and one who's playing the mayor. And that's all that I think we had at that point. I think we had was somebody doing production work as well? I don't remember. But the point being is, so we're working the script on Zoom mostly at this point in time because he's remote. So the original thing was written as a period piece. It went through revisions to modernize it because of the reality of filming a period piece, that kind of stuff, and to make it more workable. And we're rolling around. We're not going to hit the deadline of having it done by October. We've got the COVID outbreak and that kind of and stuff. So we get even more delays. So the writing process, we're having a lot of Zoom meetings. We're taking a lot of input. Talk a little bit more about like working with the writer and getting to that final script.
I think it was quite difficult because it was hard to articulate the limitations that we had here in the UK when it came to COVID, and also money and getting costumes and finding a location. So trying to get those adaptations in took some time. I think the writer had things going on in his life, so it was just a very long, drawn out process. But I enjoyed it. There was a lot of communication, and it was good to get to grips with the story.
Do you think the final story is improved over the original story? Because I think it's a decent amount different in comparison. Like, you're happy with the final story as it was completed?
Yeah, I'd say that I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah.
And I think I wouldn't necessarily say that it was better or worse, but just something different that was more suited to the circumstances.
Makes sense. And what about all the feedback? So one of the aspects I noted is everybody had an opinion on, oh, this should happen and this should happen and this should happen. And you were trying to be really inclusive. Like, at any point where you just like, shut the fuck up, let the guy write the thing and then we're going to do it? Or were you like, okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. Like, how was that?
Well, I quite like brainstorming and hearing people's ideas and having that whole sociable aspect to it where people feel passionately about the story and want to express that. But I do think it's difficult trying to include everything. So I don't know. I mean, it depends on what the writer thinks, really, if he finds it useful or not. And I did ask him, is it useful to you? And he was like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, he was really open about changes and was really accommodating to where some writers might be like, no, this is my story, don't mess with it. And you were really good about making sure that he was happy with the changes. I noticed in the WhatsApp groups, like, you good with that? You good with that? Like, you okay? So making it like very collaborative versus this versus that kind of thing. So that was good. So that's the writing process. Now let's talk about casting a little bit. So we went through a lot of actors at various points. Talk about that. Like, why was there so much turnover in the acting department, because at the end, I think it was just me, you, and was the girl that played the waitress, she was in it from the beginning, or did she get swapped out at some point as well?
I think she was in it from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was just three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy that played the mayor, that changed. So what's the story behind that one?
I think it was just the expectations, because he didn't want to go to the location. So I tried to compromise and say, we can get you there, we'll help with the transport, or if you can find a location that's more suitable nearer to you, that would be okay too. But it all just kind of fell flat. So I had to say, we might have to look for someone else. And that didn't really go so well. I think I was a bit too blunt about it and didn't really consider how he might feel. So now I've learned to maybe be a lot more positive at first before breaking any bad news.
Okay. In what sense of like how, can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
I think I just went into it very straight and to the point, because I'm quite logical and efficiently minded. And I would think, if someone said that to me, I wouldn't really mind. I would understand it and be like, okay, well, best of luck. See you next time. But some other people take it to heart, and I have to think about that more. If they're going to do that, then I need to say, you're a good person. We still want to talk to you. We still think you're a good actor, and have that whole support first before going in with the knife, if you want to call it that. Well, the truth.
Yeah, actors are a sensitive bunch. The thing with it was exactly. So we had tried to look at filming here in London, but there were a lot of problems. COVID outbreak, so everything was shut down. So we had to postpone a lot of filming because of that. We'd find a location, couldn't use a location, that kind of stuff. And so you then found a location, but it was probably about an hour or so outside of London, I think.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a ways to get there. So then there's the aspect of getting everyone there. So to my American-based audience that everyone has cars, it's like, hey, that's not a problem. We'll just drive there. But here in the UK, not everybody has cars. And so transportation is a key aspect of filming. And keep in mind, everybody's volleying their time, right? So there's the extra cost of getting to the location and stuff as well. And so with him, yeah, like he had a hard time making it to the new location. And, but I think from a director's point of view too, or actors or anyone listening, the thing is, actors, you need to get used to hearing no at auditions, and you need to get used to the idea of getting cut from a production. Like, it's exactly like what you said, Corinna. It's nothing personal. Like, he's a very nice guy. He's a good actor. I liked him. I know you like him as well. He's a great guy, but if you can't make it work, you can't make it work. And it's not like you can't go on and do other stuff. I recently was doing a play, and I got cut from it because of scheduling. I know I was a bit pissed about it, because I don't necessarily agree with the scheduling, why I needed to be cut because of the scheduling, but I didn't get offended by it. I wasn't like, when he told me, I was like, okay, that was it. That was my response. Right. And it's like, because that's the nature of the business. They had to reschedule the film or production. And in the rescheduling process, they decided to recast some roles. And it's like, fine, that's nature of the business. And I moved on. And yeah, I don't know ill will towards them. I'm assuming they have the same feeling towards me. Just best of luck in next thing you do. So from that aspect, actors, you just need to be able to accept that you're potentially going to get cut from a production for different reasons. And sometimes it's because you're an asshole and nobody wants to work with you, but usually it's not. Usually it's just either it turns out you're not the right fit for the role, or scheduling, like in my case, it was a scheduling issue, or because you can't get to the location. I said no to one of these London film projects because I was initially in it. And then they wanted to do, and I don't think it ever got filmed either, but they wanted to film out in the woods, out in the middle of somewhere. But they also wanted to do the rehearsals there and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to pay to take an hour train ride to go to the woods so that you can rehearse on the location where you're going to be filming when there's really no reason to do that. You can rehearse in a park here in the city, kind of a thing. And same thing, it's like, it's no hard feelings towards anyone. We also went through the wife. We went through quite a few wives in the process. So, because I want to say Laura was the third wife.
Oh, I don't even remember the first two.
Yeah. Because we had, what's her name that was in the film that you and I did together, the time traveling one.
Juliet.
Juliet was supposed to be the wife for a short period of time. I don't know why she left. I was going to ask you, like, maybe scheduling again. I don't know. But I think by the time we got to Laura, I feel like she was the third one.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. But I think the first two dropped out fairly early on.
I think one of the problems with a production like this that goes on so long is people start to drop out, or people have other things come up that they have to do. And without a strong producer or director, in our case, you making sure that the thing moves forward and gets done, that's why these projects don't complete. There's another aspect, which is sometimes people have too big of a view of like what they want to do without realizing the realities of it. So in this case, modernizing the script to make that more workable, locations wise, you were able to find the location to shoot. There was another location that was in a person's apartment, so that's easy enough. So there's an aspect of just thinking about the realities of a very low or no budget production, and like what can actually be filmed within what you have available to you. Like, how much of that were you taking into consideration when trying to get this production made?
Yeah, I was trying to keep it as low budget or no budget as possible. And I did say to the writer, it's going to be difficult to find these locations and to do such a long script, because I think even filming, five pages is going to take a long time. Mm-hmm. So it being a night shoot as well kind of came up with more problems. But I did look into getting the insurances and doing all the legwork for getting the production rolling. And I thought the cost wasn't too much, but it is something that I paid out of my own pocket, and the cinematographer paid out of his own pocket too. So I think, if you're passionate about something, then you have to invest a little bit in there.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're right. You paid for the insurance. You paid for. Did you have to pay for the location at all?
I think it was free because it was filmed on the road.
Okay. Yeah. So there's those various out of production costs. The cinematographer rented the camera equipment and rented a car. And so there was those costs that people had to put up. If you're right, if you're passionate about the project and you want to get it done, you need to put out the cost. I did a film years ago, and I had this idea of wanting to use a Steadicam. And so I rented a Steadicam for the day. And the cinematographer had never used a Steadicam before, and I had never used a Steadicam. So we spent like a couple hours just trying to get this thing balanced correctly and set up. And like, it might not have been a couple hours, but it felt like a very long time. And it was this huge delay in the production as we're trying to use this Steadicam that I paid like 80 quid for the day or something like that. And for a shot that like was supposed to be this really cool one shot, but then ended up not even really working that well. So it ended up having to have cuts in it. But I'm like, gotta have this Steadicam. I want to do this one Steadicam shot and spend a bunch of money. Same thing. I had to rent a car in order to shuttle people back and forth to the location, all that kind of stuff. So there's always going to be a cost associated to a production, no matter how low you try to make it. So it's important to think about that. And are you passionate enough about the project to make sure it gets done? Because it's coming out of your own pocket. Yeah, that's good. I think, didn't at some point we schedule a filming shoot in location and have to cancel it because of one of the COVID lockdowns?
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was all pushed back until when did we film? Was it last year
Last
or?
year, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had the first lockdown in 2020, and then we kind of had a bit of a break. And then there was the second lockdown. And then I think we filmed kind of right around. So the film is cast, you got everything done, props, all this kind of fun stuff. And so it finally rolls around to filming. And this was kind of right at the beginning of the vaccination rollout is around when that happened. Cause I remember like some of us hadn't been vaccinated. Some of us had fully vaccinated. Some of us had like one vaccine. So it was right around that rollout period.
Mhm.
And so found the location, getting everybody to the shoot. Like, let's talk a little bit about that, like just that coordination and timing and the filming aspect.
Okay. Yeah, I think it went pretty well timing it and everyone arriving there. I had
Mm-hmm.
to do extra COVID assessment and certification and make sure everyone understood all the COVID rules and had tested as well. Um, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, everyone rolled up on time, so I don't think there was any real issues. But the camera did take a long time to set up, and the lighting too, which was it took more time than I expected. So
Yeah.
maybe like an hour or two. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the important lesson there is it will always take longer than you think it's going to take.
Yes.
Always. And especially because it was filmed at night. So there's that extra aspect of lighting it so that it looks properly filmed at light, but also so that you're seeing everything that needs to be filmed. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, the lighting and the night shoot, it was difficult trying to get a kind of natural looking urban lighting, I suppose. And there was also the issue of the locals whose houses were there and we were shining lights at them. And one lady got pissed off about it. But other than that, yeah, we had to make sure it was facing away from the houses. And then what was there? Oh, all of the equipment too. We had to put that somewhere. And thankfully, a local said, yeah, it's fine if you just put it on my property. So that was kind of lucky that we didn't have to leave it out in the road. It was something
Yeah.
I hadn't considered really.
Yeah. It's important to make sure that like the equipment doesn't get stolen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, on the drive there, I feel like I need to tell the story because it's funny now. At the time, it was very serious. We finally get around to filming, and then we almost didn't film because me and the director of photography got into a big, huge argument on the drive there about like COVID. He's an anti-vaxxer, and I'm pro-vaccine. And so we're in this car together having a pretty intense argument about this to the point to where he actually pulled over to the side of the road and told me to get out of the car. And it was like, so we had to make up basically, but the whole rest of the night, there was just this constant tension between the two of us and because of this. And it would have been kind of funny if like I had actually gotten out of the car and then like everybody rolls up and it's like, sorry, Corinna, so we can't film tonight because Milo got left behind.
Yeah. But it was good that you guys still could work through.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we had to like just shut our mouths and be professionals. And but it was a very tense car ride the rest of the way. There was very silent because there were two other people in the car with us as well, and so it was just kind of like just very silent. Nobody talked for the rest of the trip, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, we did eventually decide to behave like adults and work through it and got it done. So I need to talk about sound. So this is always an issue on low budget, no budget films, I find. And it was an issue on this film as well. So talk about the sound process of trying to get sound and what happened.
Yeah, so I did ask a few people if they wanted to do sound, people that I knew do that and have some experience, but they didn't want to. So I had to ask around more. And I think an actor's friend said that he could do it. And then his phone died on the day. So that, yeah, we couldn't get in contact with him. And then my friend thankfully decided to just step up and he had no experience with sound work. So it was just, great that he could come in last minute and try this new thing out. Yeah, but that was difficult getting someone for that.
Mm-hmm. And how did it turn out?
I think the sound turned out okay, considering. Yeah, we did have the boom in some shots, I think, or the shadow of the boom. But I think, when you have all of these issues that are coming up, you just have to accept it's not going to be a perfect thing at the end. It's going to be something that's decent and something that you learn from.
Mm-hmm. And then on the night of the shooting, there was also noises, that kind of stuff. Like, so, but there were some other things to take into consideration of like on the filming day or filming night in this situation, because wasn't there like a light kept clicking on and off from the building or the road nearby or something like that?
Oh yeah, that was in the pub, I think. Yeah, so they had some sort of automated light that we had to keep getting to turn on to keep the consistency. So that added more time to it. And when we were filming outside in the local area, there were always cars going past, making lots of noise. So we had to pause and then wait a while and then start filming again. So all of this just prolonged the process for more than I expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what time did we get done filming? Was it like 3 a.m. or something like that?
I think it was later. I think it was when the sun was coming up. So
oh yeah, because it was light out when I got home. You're right. Yeah, so it was quite a late night shoot. Yeah. After that, I was like, that's it. No more night shoots.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so you've got everything in the cam, now into the editing process. So how closely did you work with the editor on this? Because it did take a while to get edited.
Yeah, we met a few times over Zoom just to discuss things like how we want the film to feel, the tension, what kind of music we want. And then I just kind of trusted him to create what he wanted from it.
How many versions did it go through?
I think maybe 2.
Oh, that's not bad. Really?
I don't know. I
mean, he might have done a few that you don't know of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're really only in his meetings with you. He really only went through like 2 edits.
I think there was a rough cut, kind of just some ideas out there. And then, yeah, he showed us clips of things that he was working on. And then I just let him do the process.
Okay. And then would you change much now that it's done in regards to the edit?
No, I think he did a good job. Yeah. I'm quite happy.
Okay. Well, that's good. Excellent. So film's done. You shared it out. It's on YouTube or whatever. How happy are you with the final product? Like, what would you do differently? What worked out well? That kind of stuff, like the actual film itself.
I think I would spend more time on the shots and maybe film over a few days just to get the quality to be a bit better. And then, look for more people. But then I guess the budget would go higher and higher. So it's all just compromising. And then, I suppose I'd like it to be shown somewhere, like at an event, or to be good enough to submit to a festival, something along those lines. So I think next time I'll go for something has a higher quality, that takes a bit more time to film, to get it really good. And yeah.
So you would say you don't think it's good enough for festivals?
I think it's okay. I mean, it might be. I could try submitting it somewhere and see. I guess there would be some places I would say, yeah.
I guess some festival somewhere might take it. Yeah, I guess for me, in watching it, it looks good. It's the sound is the big problem. And like you said, the guy that volunteered last minute to do sound had no idea how to do sound. And it makes it such a difference. And especially, I think if it were to be shown in a theater, the sound problems would be even more noticeable. Like, there's the shots where you got person talking and then another person talking. You could tell they're different recordings. Like, I don't know if some of it was taken from a camera and some of it was taken from the boom or how that works, but it's very obvious that the dialogue and the sound, you get shots where you get some background noise and then other shots where there's less background noise, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's the biggest thing I notice about it. I think in regards to shooting it at night, I think it actually looks pretty good. The lighting I think is good. The fact that I'm sure the fact that he shot it on a Blackmagic helped, because that's a nice little camera to film on and does well with night shoots. And lighting wise, I think all of that looks really nicely as well. What about the acting? Critique the performances. What do you think of the guy that played the writer? Worst or best, or somewhere in the middle?
I would give him an Oscar for that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think the performances are really good. And I did show the film to my family and they were very impressed by the actors. Kind of wondered if they were doing anything else. My brother asked if there was going to be a part 2. Interested in some kind of series.
There you go. Yeah. Get a budget and reshoot it with a budget. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the guy that played the mayor? I can't think of his name at the moment. Vince? No.
Eduardo.
Ed. Yeah, Eduardo. Yeah. Ed, him and I are with the same agent. And so it's kind of funny that to see him pop up on stuff. But he's very talented, and he's got great hair. Like he's kind of got this kind of silver fox thing going on. And I'm like, man, when my hair goes gray, I want to have hair like that. He's so stylish.
Yeah.
And then Laura, who played the wife, she didn't have too huge of a role, but she's amazing to work with. I love it. We've both worked with her in the past, and she's so positive and has such a good attitude about stuff and is so easygoing that she's absolutely wonderful to work with. And that was my first time working with the girl that played the waitress. I thought she was great as well. So yeah. So good casting, Corinna. I think you did good on the casting there.
Yeah. I was going to say,
which really consisted of basically just finding who's available.
Yeah, but it was harder to find reliable people.
Yeah,
more harder than I thought, because I thought everyone would be super passionate and committed to it. But I guess things crop up and people can't so much. So
yeah, didn't one of the people that was supposed to play the mayor, not the one that we mentioned earlier that couldn't do it because of the location, but there was a second person, or third, I don't even know, but he dropped out when he found out that he wasn't going to get paid.
Yeah, and he also wanted us to reschedule the dates around what suited him. So he initially agreed that the dates were fine, but then it turned out he had some other projects that he was being very quiet about. So I thought, okay, bye.
Yeah. And what made it interesting too is because Eduardo is Spanish, and Spanish, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so is Laura. So it was kind of turned out to be a nice little match between the two of them in regards to their nationality and stuff, which was kind of, well, she's not Spanish. I guess she's Argentinian, because then you have the scenes between the two of them. And, not that, somebody from Spain wouldn't marry somebody from the UK or anything like that. But I felt like it made the two of them as a couple more believable than, say, our original mayor and Laura. And because the original mayor, he's a bit older, she's quite young and stuff. And so I don't know. I felt like as a couple, I believed Eduardo and Laura, versus as a couple, I don't know if I would have believed as much our original mayor and Laura. In my, like when it comes to casting, sometimes it's just about looks, right?
Yeah. And I liked how we then said they could add some Spanish in there too, which made it more interesting, I think. And a thing about the wife's role is that I did want that to be bigger. So that was something to adapt into the script a bit more, to give her a bit more character. Because I think at the beginning she was just a ghost that says nothing. So I liked having her being able to speak more.
Yeah. Initially, I think she was just a ghost that shows up at the very end. And that whole flashback scene was added, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So you have all that interaction between the two of them. And you're right, exactly. Because since they were both Spanish speakers, you were able to add a little bit of Spanish dialogue, which was nice as well. So sometimes it works out really well when you have to recast, and you luck into getting the right mesh of people that work well together. And I think the two of them really worked well together.
Yeah.
And of course, our witch was brilliant. We shouldn't not mention her and how convincing she was as a witch.
Yeah, I mean, I did want to try the acting too, but it was hard to direct and act at the same time. I wanted someone to direct me more, but I just had to, roll with it.
So would you act and direct again at the same time?
I think if I had an AD who could direct me a bit, then yes. Mm-hmm. But in the first scene that we filmed outside in the village, I didn't have an AD, and I found that a lot harder than when we filmed in the pub with the AD.
Yeah, makes sense. And would you direct again then? Because this is your first directing experience.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked how you could visualize things and doing all the storyboarding and collaborating. Yeah, I think I would.
Okay. And any overall like advice, lessons learned that you'd give to my audience of, here some key items that you need to keep in mind when making a film for no money?
I think being very adaptable is something that you have to do, and trying to collaborate and bring in people, but also motivation. You need like extreme motivation, and to just keep people going and keep that energy up and that passion going too, and keep communicating even when things feel like they're fizzling out, just to keep putting things out there. And then, just trying to drive it to completion, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very key one, because you might think you're going to get involved in a project and everybody's going to be just as motivated as you are. But usually that's not the case. There might be one or two people that are driving that project to completion. And if you're not that person, it probably won't get done. And when it comes to it's usually in this case, the director. So that's 9 times out of 10 who it is, might be the producer as well. But often with your crew and your actors, they're just like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it if I can, but if not, I won't. I don't really care that much about the project. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I think why we went through so many people, because you need that one person that is going to commit to completing the project. And it's important to have that person or be that person. And if you're not that person, think about that when you're getting involved in something, and make sure that that person is in place, because otherwise it's just going to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good lessons. If anybody wants to follow you on social media or anything, do you have a social media you want to share or no?
I haven't set up anything yet.
You don't have any social media? It's 2022. What the heck?
I know. Everyone keeps saying I need Instagram to talk to all the creatives.
Yeah. Geez, at least an Instagram. Don't get TikTok though. TikTok makes no sense. And I just don't like it because I'm not 23, I guess. I don't know what the average age group of TikTok is. Every time I hear the name TikTok, I get frustrated. I'm like, I don't want to go on another social media thing. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want 15-second videos of me dancing to some song I don't care about. I know there's more than that to TikTok, by the way, but that's me being negative about something that I don't like.
Well, I generally think social media is quite negative for me, but I think it's something that you have to do now if you want to do creative things.
Yeah, at least an Instagram.
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah. So when you get on Instagram, you can friend me, and then you can have at least one Instagram friend.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Corinna. That was very informative, and cheers.
And thank you. Yeah, it was great. And you had some great advice too. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.